questions for Coach
Yeah.
Coop?
Guys? Coach, just kind of reflect a little bit on the Big 12 opener in Manhattan last Saturday, just kind of what you thought of the offensive overall, the performance. I know the slow start, obviously not a fan of, but they showed some grit at the end and battled back to make it somewhat of a game late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, you said it. We didn't start fast like we had in the past. Typically, we get a couple conversions on the first series of the game, and then you kind of get off and rolling and find a rhythm. But that's just something we have to learn from. There's plenty of opportunities in the first half to get in a rhythm, and we didn't play our best. And that was every position across the board. You're going to deal with adversity on the road, tough environment. It's not going to be the last time we deal with that. It's going to be like that every week. It's going to be blood and guts. You got to find every inch. And there's things we talk about, but it's not really real until you get in the game situation. And would have liked to seen a little bit better response, but I really like our reaction coming in and starting to get this real week of work in for our next opponent.
What do you guys need to do to get maybe a little more consistency out of the run game and to maybe get started a little earlier, maybe to take some of the pressure off the quarterback position?
Yeah, I think it's just got to be a nice mix with what we do. It doesn't necessarily always matter what the play is. And talking about, is it a run, is it a play action shot, is it a quick game, is it an RPO? We just got to execute. I think that we can continue to build on the strengths of the quarterback and things they feel really comfortable with, but then we just got to go out and execute it. But I like what we had in the game plan, but just didn't execute it.
Taven Jackson gets injured and comes back into the game in the third quarter. Talk about his grit and possibly how he motivated the team to make a late push.
I think anytime the guy that got the majority of the reps in practice, having them out there running the offense is usually your best bet. And then obviously, we were kind of trying to figure things out with both quarterbacks there early. Happy to see Tate come back and have some success. And there's still a lot of room to grow, because it wasn't just the start of the game that we had issues with. Yeah, we found a rhythm, but we also kind of had that same stall out in the red zone in particular, and the critical situations like third down. And we talk about a lot, the game is more about the situations really than anything else. And if you take all that out of it, it was our first road game on the Big 12, and that's a new environment that we have to be better at handling that situation. I wouldn't necessarily call it adversity, but we got to be able to adapt to our environment. And it was good to see Tay back out there and healthy. I mean, make me feel better, because I really didn't know what the issue was until we got down from halftime.
Yeah, staying on that, so you're at halftime. What is it and what's your reaction when Taven comes back in?
Well, it's kind of a side point, but the trip down from the box at K-State, it's a long haul. It's like two different stair steps. You got to work down the stairwells and then an elevator, and then you got to cross the field. So there was a lot of scramble to get this. When we got the things that we needed to talk about squared away. But I didn't really get a lot of that information actually until I got back up in the box. I knew that we were still waiting to hear on what the quarterback situation was going to be from the training staff moving forward, and mostly it was just we needed to wait until the doctors and the trainers got everybody checked out.
What does that do for a team though when they see a guy want to play that badly and come back in?
Yeah, I mean, I think that across the board, if you ask anyone on offense, defense, or special teams, the expectation is if you can go, we're going to go. And I think that helps. That kind of just sends the message home. That Frost delivers, as a coach delivers all the time, this is about resiliency. You're never going to feel 100%. Not since we started day one of fall camp. You're never going to be 100%. There's a difference between being injured and hurt, and this game is tough. If you play football, you're a tough dude. If you play quarterback, you're a tough dude. Not just the physical piece, but all the mental things that go with it. And I think Tay did a nice job of demonstrating that that's who he is. He's the quarterback, and he's willing to do what it takes to win football games.
Coach, what does this team now look like in practice now with Taven and Jacory both coming off those injuries? How has that first team reps been looking so far?
I think Coach Frost will talk about where we're at with the quarterback position moving into the game this week, which everyone's excited. It's the first, I guess they were telling me it's the first Big 12 night game on a Saturday night, so I didn't learn that until before practice. But everyone's fired up, every position. You get this point in the season, and then we got guys that are banged up here and there. But the reality is that's pretty much everyone else in college football too. So I don't think there's really anything remarkable about our depth, our injury report in regards to where we're at versus everybody else.
Coach, you talked on stalling out a little bit in the red zone there. This upcoming opponent of Kansas, they rank 121st in red zone defense. So how can you capitalize on getting the ball in the end zone?
Yeah, I think it's going to be more about us than them. To be honest, they're going to present some unique challenges, even though they're not ranking as high as they'd like to. They still do things that are different for obvious reasons. They're trying to take away X, Y, Z. But it's going to be more about us. We feel like the stuff that we put in particular in those critical situations, third down, red zone, 2 minute, all those situations, we have plays designed to have success almost first every look. So yeah, we'll try and do a good job of curating our plan to give a nice blend of all those things, whether it's a quick game pass, it's some kind of play action, it's a run, it's a 12 personnel run, it's an RPO. We're going to just figure out what's the best blend of the things that we execute well. And tomorrow for us in practice is our red zone third down day, so we still got a lot to learn there. But I think the main thing is bringing to our attention that hey, this is really important. And we need to focus on those things. We got to have a good Wednesday practice tomorrow. We had a good Tuesday practice today. Loving the response that we get from the guys, and that's when your feet hit the ground in the morning, you're ready to go. And when you got the bright eyes in the meeting rooms that, hey, we're here and we want to do well, and we're not just kind of going through the motions. So Tuesday was good. When you have a good Wednesday for that exact point, we need to do a better job in the red zone third down.
I know Taven Jackson's a redshirt junior, but in terms of starts, I know he started a few games here and there. This is really shaping up to be his first season as the starter. So how much is he still learning kind of how to be a starting quarterback, just things like awareness? I know there was the first down marker, here a few weeks ago, and then the slide at Kansas. Just the little things that kind of come with, getting out there and playing real game reps. How much is he still learning, and what areas does he still need to take that next step?
Yeah, we're obviously learning and growing. You would like to see those things become more the normal and not have to worry about coaching those things up as they come up. But I think you're right. Your point is, are we learning and growing? Yes. Is there progress being made every time something like that happens and we want to pull our hair out? Yeah, sure. I do think that he is doing a good job of seeing what just happened and taking ownership of the fact that, okay, I got to be better there in that situation. And when you do that, it makes it a whole lot easier to coach your teammates because they see you taking ownership of your mistakes. But yeah, we got room to grow. We're all still practicing. We're all still coaching. It's not our last day doing that. We're going to continue to get better.
You guys were without Dylan at Kansas State. What did you see from the rest of the tight end group, and where did you see some positives and where were maybe some negatives in that performance?
Well, yeah, I just strike the positive. And we knew Max Drag was going to contribute in a big way this year. And he came in and he did a really nice job in the run game, and we're happy and glad to see him making the progress in the system because he missed spring football, and it's not like he hadn't played football. He was a good player at App State. It's just being in our system. So it's good that he got those actual game reps. So I think that would be the real positive. The big negative is just not having Dylan Wade, the playmaker, out there when we need him. And I think that was probably one thing that might have attributed to some of the issues we had at quarterback. There's just one less guy that that you'd like to throw the football to. But we'll figure out other ways to get the other tight ends involved too, things that they're good at.
You mentioned stalling in the red zone, especially that drive with the few delayed games and a false start. Those self-inflicting penalties must drive you crazy.
Yeah, they do. I mean, anytime you have something that you can control that shouldn't happen, yeah, it's gonna drive you bonkers. So we just got to take a look at what we're doing in practice. What are we doing that we could do better to avoid those situations? And it's usually the big one. It's just like, hey, making everyone aware like how important this is, and we can't get tired as coaches of coaching those things hard. I mean, it's critically important. If we got the refs out there on a Tuesday practice and you see a yellow flag a yellow flag up, I mean, we got to make sure that hey, that's something that needs to be addressed. Not that it isn't. It's just we got to double down.
Is it possibly a lack of poise that sometimes goes into the situation, or is the situation too big?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you used that term, poise. That's like on our bullet points every week. That's what we want to have, especially when you're in a hostile environment where it's probably a little bit more noisier, louder. Sometimes as a quarterback, dealing with the shot clock, you got to know where the play clock is. If we got a motion, you got to hustle the motion up because there's a lot of different levels and layers to each one of those plays that you mentioned. We don't have firm feet on. And generally speaking, those are going to be the critical moments where we got a little bit more tension going on, and we got to do a better job as a staff coaching it. We got to do a better job as players being able to execute in those critical moments, which is red zone specifically.
What do you need to see from your team in terms of run blocking?
Well, we need to get better, and it's not like it's a surprise that we have room to grow. And a lot of the times when you're looking at run block, it isn't just like, hey, this individual is going to just move this person against his will. Like the reality is those guys are good players too. So it's going to be more about us being all on the same page in regards to what double team we're working, what's the communication, how fast can we get lined up so that we can decipher what the defense doing so we can be in the proper call. And that takes a lot of reps, it takes a lot of practice, and I think we are, we're making progress there. One of the runs that Nixon had down the right side, we're running just a simple wide zone scheme, and that was fit up beautifully, and next thing you know, we're in the end zone. And there was a couple that Miles had too, where everyone was on the same page, and we had some nice runs. And then for every one of those, we can go back and look, okay, this is where we're fundamentally poor, and that's something we need to spend more time on. Or there's something that was just not sound to begin with because of how we misaligned. But each one of those individual layers is something that we can build on, continue on, and I'm looking forward to these guys putting in the work in tomorrow, Wednesday practice, and continue to get better on those things.
How do you assess the wide receivers blocking?
When it comes to perimeter blocking, it's a little bit, I wouldn't say it's inconsistent. Like the guys are giving really good effort, and that's the most important thing. Some of the looks that you get from different coverages, and each one of these teams that we played against has been pretty multiple with the coverages that they've given us. And so how are those defensive backs going to trigger on our bubbles? How are those defensive backs are going to fit late in on the runs? And so I feel like we're learning and growing every single time, and it's like we go from game 3 into game 4, which is Kansas State. Some of the same things that we saw on tape, we saw again, and we actually capitalized and executed in those moments where the week before, whether it's just like the safety descending down on the weak side of a weak side run, and like we're getting the hat where it needs to be, where that wasn't necessarily always the case early in the season. But I'm very happy with the effort the wide receivers give us in the run game. Could it be better? Yes, we're always trying to get better in that, because if we can block on the perimeter like we are going to block up front, then you got a chance to be dangerous. We're talking about a 4-yard run turning into a 45-yard touchdown. So that's stuff that we talk about every day with those guys. Coach Beck does a great job of making that really important. I think where we're at right now as a unit is we still got a long ways to go, but I'm really excited about the effort, the attitude, and where these guys their attention's locked in to get better.
Coach talked about the absence of Dylan Wade from the playmaking standpoint. How has Kylan Fox been able to kind of step in, at least from a receiving standpoint? What have you seen from his development thus far?
Well, I mean, we all got to get better. Some of the things that showed up in the game were not necessarily the things that we saw the week before in practice. So we got to figure out where that came from. And we're talking about very minuscule, teeny things with the route detail, because everything matters, everything's important. And that wasn't where we wanted to be on Saturday. And not just Kylan, not just when D-Wade's out there, that's every single person in the pass game. We need to be a little bit more detailed at the top of our routes. We need to have speed all 4 quarters, all 50 to 75 plays or whatever it is, because the most important rule of route running, the number 1 rule is getting off the ball, hauling ass. And then rule number 2 is you can't let the defender determine your breaking point. And we're seeing too much of that on the field. So if that's a deal where we got to play some more guys so we're fresher, great. That's what we're ready to do. And the detail that needs to be coached up, that's what we're working on.
All right, thanks everyone. Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.